Cheers and welcome to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. I'm your host, Marty Viniaz. There's no question that we love our beer in Western New York, and we've been brewing it right here for over 200 years. During today's show, we'll take a behind-the-scenes look at some of the amazing work being done with our craft brewers. We'll learn a little bit about history of beer in Western New York, and we might learn a couple facts about beer that you might not know about. Our first local brewer is one of the originators, one of the original craft breweries in Western New York. Let's send it over to Peter and Dan in Ski Country over at Ellicottville Brewing Company.
Ellicottville Brewing, we opened in '95. American craft didn't really exist too much in Western New York in 1995, but there was definitely an appetite for better beer. And I've never been a brewer that always wanted to stick to style or conformity. I didn't want to have the beer geeks say, oh, that IBU was off by 4 points, or this colorization was off by 4 points. So we never ever named anything by style or brewed to style. We just kind of brewed to what the palette of ingredients for each year allowed us to brew. And back in '95, the palette was pretty small. Like there was like maybe 10 base malts and 10 good hops, and there was a lot less of the palate.
We've got our blueberry wheat, which is our most popular beer, real nice, crushable, light wheat beer. Not too sweet or super out of control fruity. It's just got a nice note and really appeals to a broad market of folks. Right now we're really rocking our Bill's beers. We've got the Herd and Tailgate Time, light lager and IPA. Coming up, we've got Chocolate Cherry Stout, which is something we've been doing since 2006 or so. Really great deep milk chocolate aroma and flavor. Some notes of cherry in there. The Paul's chocolate malt we use out of England is just fantastic. It's got some real nice chocolate notes to it. We've got Ski Bum coming up, which is a nice dark amber pale ale. Later in the season we'll have Blackberry Kolsch coming up. We're also doing a really cool deal with St. Jacob's Imperial Oak Aged Stout. That's actually 8% beer that's aged on French oak in the fermenter, and then we go ahead and we put it in to barrels, different bourbon barrels, and we age it for 3, 6, 9 months and up to a year, and kind of blend those together and make this just awesome stout. We're here in Little Valley, New York. We just built a brand new Esau and Huber brew house. It's a 60-barrel brew house with various different tanks, 180 barrels. We got 5 of those, and 10 60-barrel fermenters on site. We've got the ability to produce probably north of 30,000 barrels here. Right now we're really only producing about 15,000 barrels a year. We actually have another facility over in Ellicottville, New York, which houses our 10-barrel original brew house and another 30-barrel brew house there.
We thought it'd be a great spot to catch people coming to Ellicottville or leaving Ellicottville to stop in and visit here, grab a case of beer, grab something to eat before you go back and forth. We also wanted to create an event space. We do weddings in Ellicottville. The space is really beautiful. This just can handle 400 or 500 people and have its own private space. It's beautiful. The mountains are right here. Like right now, it's probably the prettiest of the year. And we're on 10 acres. We have ideas to, I'm this Ferris wheel guy, so I got a Ferris wheel that I want to put out here. I want to put a pump track. I want to put it and create it as an entertainment zone. And it's just right outside Ellicottville, and it's just an alternative for the person that wants to come and visit to do some things. So that's primarily what we're trying to do. Our company phrase is called entertaining people. So we're going to continue the history of just entertaining people.
The first culture known to brew beer were the ancient Babylonians, who were very serious about their craft. The Code of Hammurabi decreed that any bartender who watered down beer would be executed. And for the brewers, one bad batch was punishable by drowning to death in their own beer.
Welcome back to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Now we're going to take a visit with local beer historian John Ice, who's going to tell us on how a few early innovations in beer making was a game changer for local breweries.
The first huge innovation in brewing, of course, was refrigeration. Before refrigeration, you had to make your beer local because you couldn't ship it very well anywhere and if it couldn't kept cold. It wasn't pasteurized, so it would go bad. So you basically had to, bring it somewhere and then drink it. Maybe not that quickly, but reasonably so. So you couldn't ship it like from here to Chicago. It didn't really work well. And so refrigeration changed all that. And once that happened, some of the larger breweries like Anheuser-Busch and that sort of thing could ship beer all over the place. And once they did that, they could compete as they do today, the business do today. If I can sell a cheaper product and, I can get to your business, and that's what happened. That put many, many breweries out of business when that happened. It started around 1890. They had refrigeration before that, but it really got big by around 1890, and that kind of really changed things in the brewing industry and dropped the number of breweries way down from when they were, like on every street corner. And so what happened in Buffalo was we ended up, after Prohibition, probably in 1933, as a result of that and other consolidation measures that went on, our own breweries buying up each other, there's probably only, I think, like 8 or 9 breweries that were really operating in Buffalo. Yeah, initially here in Buffalo, which was kind of like not in the mainstream, like places like Philadelphia and New York City were and that sort of thing. The beer that was produced here was in kegs and was not bottled. It didn't really start getting bottled till after the canal was built, and we had been here for another 10 years, and the canal made a lot of people wealthy in Buffalo, as you can look at Delaware Avenue mansions and get an idea. And so they could afford to buy beer in bottles and have it bottled, and then the bottles would be returned afterward. But Buffalo's first bottler was a gentleman by the name of Sidney Burr, B-U-R-R, and he was right at Exchange Street. He was on Seneca Street and Washington, just about on the corner there. And he bottled, beer and pop and soda, that type of thing. But the earliest bottle we know of in Buffalo was a stoneware, not a stoneware bottle, but an earthenware bottle from S. Burr on there. And we think that's the first bottle that's ever been used, that was used in Buffalo for bottling beer. And then later on, of course, they got glass bottles, and then they started bottling it. The first beer was probably bottled in that earthenware bottle at 1842, 43, somewhere in there. Before that, we didn't really bottle much in Buffalo at all. The Pan American Exposition in 1901, we have all these breweries in Buffalo, and they were some pretty big, well-known breweries at the time, Lang's and Iroquois, and the interesting thing is that the official brewery of the 1901 Exposition was Pabst, which is now Pabst Blue Ribbon, or was, it's out now, but I think they're making it again. But yeah, and beer was sold in different areas that wasn't Pabst, local beer. But the official brewing beer of the Exposition was Pabst out of town from Milwaukee.
Not only is there an incredible collection of craft beer available today, but cocktail fans are enjoying a resurgence with local craft distillers. Let's take a visit with Kevin Thomas over at Western Reserve Distillers.
Hey there, Buffalo. Welcome to the Western Reserve Distillers Cocktail Corner. Right now in New York, we have our 4-year bourbon, which is going to be a 70% corn, 15% wheat, 15% rye mash bill. We distill it up a little bit higher, so just short of that 160 proof. It's been aged for a little over 4 years in newly charred American oak. Delicious bourbon, good everyday product, great for making cocktails, got a little bit of that spice in there, but it's also a good sipper, at night. We have our Oloroso Sherry finished bourbon, which is just this guy actually finished in Spanish Oloroso Sherry casks. 94 points at this year's Beverage Testing Institute, actually one of the top bourbons in the country this year. And then we've also got our Caribbean cask rye, which unlike a lot of the other Caribbean cask ryes is only going to be a 51% rye, 49% hard red winter wheat, a little bit softer, again 4 to 5 year product. It's going to be aged in a Caribbean cask between 10 to 12 months. It's got a beautiful notes of the Caribbean, and then also got that good backbone of the American whiskey in there. This is our Reposado. You notice it has a little bit of a kind of a dark amber color to it. So really what we do first is we do the fermentation of that organic agave. It comes off the still and looks just like water, a little bit higher proof than water, but we let it sit for about 45 days or so just to kind of have it rest, let the flavors meld, and also let some of the oils kind of settle. And then what we do is we actually take our used bourbon barrels after we freshly dump them, we fill them with basically that clear Blanco, and then after about 10 to 12 months, we'll harvest those barrels, and that's really what kind of makes it a reposado. It means rested in Spanish. So it has to be less than a year, it has to be more than basically 60 days. We like it a little bit closer towards that 12-year mark. Gives it a little bit more of kind of the caramel and some of the sweet notes of the bourbon, married with the delicious flavor of the agave plant.
Bourbon is always the best seller. So once we were able to get bourbon out there, that has become the best seller. However, I will say we now have agave spirits, and our Reposado agave has taken off, and it's quickly gaining on our bourbon, quickly gaining in popularity. Both our Reposado and Añejo are actually aged in our bourbon barrels. So our Reposado sits about 10 months in our bourbon barrels. Our Añejo is at about 14 months. So they both have a really nice finish on them. The Añejo starts to pick up, it sits just long enough, it starts getting some of the bourbon caramely notes, some of the oak flavors. So over a block of ice, fresh squeeze of lime, it sips like a great bourbon. If we were making it in one of the 5 states in Mexico, we would be able to call it tequila. However, we make it in Lakewood, Ohio, so we must call it agave spirits. It is made from 100% organic Blue Weber agave, and we work with an organic farming co-op out of Jalisco, Mexico. So because it is done in the United States, we cannot legally call it tequila, we have to call it an agave spirit.
We'll be right back with more of the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. But here's another fun fact about beer that you might not know.
Back in 1986, the race for mayor of Lajitas, Texas was between incumbent Mayor Tommy Steele, a local ranch dog named Buster, a trading post wooden Indian, and a beer-drinking goat named Clay Henry. The beer-drinking goat won the election in a total landslide.
Welcome back to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Now we're going to take a look at the company who makes this show possible, Consumers Beverages. Since 1948, Consumers Beverages has been Buffalo's beer store, which is the largest selection of craft beer and cider in Western New York. Let's catch up with the president of Consumers, Neil Cavanaugh.
So my dad started Consumers Beverages in 1948 with 3 other gentlemen, and their objective was to home deliver beer and soda pop to the residents of Erie County. The other gentleman that he started the business with left the business within a few years of its inception. However, my dad kept the business going and grew from 15 truck routes up to 50 truck routes by about 1966, at which time he started opening retail stores as the community in Western New York grew and people's desire to buy beer on their way home from work grew. He was able to open more stores. Our first store opened in 1966 at South Park Avenue in South Buffalo, and we've now grown to 18 locations over Erie and Niagara County. When the business first started, they had 5 brands of beer and 2 brands of soda pop that they distributed, that consumers distributed. And they, in 1950, opened up a soft drink bottling plant in the building at Genesee and Bailey, and we were manufacturing soda pop until 1988. We had 17 different flavors of regular, 5 different flavors of diet in 10-ounce bottles and 32-ounce bottles, but as 2 liters prevailed in the market, and we sold the property where the bottling plant was housed, we focused more on the beer end of things. And when the company started, as I said, there were 5 brands of beer. Today we have nearly 3,000 different brands of beer in stock at each of our stores, all available ice cold. So I like to tell people that my dad took me to work on Take Your Son to Work Day when I was 9 years old, and he hasn't sent me home yet. My first job at Consumers was washing the floors in the offices, which are located in South Buffalo. When I was in 6th grade, on Saturdays and Sundays, my dad would take our whole family to work and assign us each a job. So it's truly a family-run business, family-owned business, and many members of our family are still here today. We've been able to grow the business in Western New York because of our loyal and dedicated staff members. We have multiple staff members who have been on staff for 20, 30, up to 50 years. We have many retirees in the community, but without our loyal and dedicated staff members, we would not have been able to serve the patrons in Western New York that are interested in having cold, fresh beer, especially local beers, at their convenience at any one of the 18 consumer beverage locations. We have over 3 buyers in our central office in South Buffalo that are currently seeking out craft beers from the local breweries as well as regional breweries, breweries in Canada, breweries across the world. We also have a network of distributors that bring us the products and the items that we currently have in stock. And there's been quite an influx of new items lately, including lemonades and teas and ready-to drinks. And we search the world and we search the globe to find the items that our customers are looking for. The local breweries in Western New York put out unbelievable products. We have over 20 Western New York breweries that we feature in store. Each one of the breweries brings their own specialty items to the table, and it's one-stop shopping for people interested in local beers. We have an opportunity to continue to grow the business in Western New York. We're celebrating our 75th year. We have plans on deck to build 2 more stores in Western New York. I have 3 sons that are actively in the business, and we're looking forward to a bright future for Consumers Beverages.
Before we go, let's take a look at our sponsor of today's show, the Tinderbox in Williamsville. They've been the go-to cigar store for connoisseurs and beginners alike. Let's now hand it over to Jim Dvorak, who will tell us a little bit more about the Tinderbox.
Back in 1995, my father felt there was a need for a premium cigar shop in Western New York. He had a job that traveled all through the U.S., and there was really nothing in Western New York. He retired from his day job, and we opened the business. We feel we got one of Western New York's largest selection. We also felt the need for that, in that when we went to other cities and stuff, the selection was definitely a lot larger than anything we had seen in Western New York, and we wanted to be that premium selection. There's 3 main growing regions cigars come from: Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and Honduras. Back in '95, most of the cigars came from the Dominican, and it seems that as people's tastes, evolved, Nicaraguan tobacco became more sought after just because it's a little more complex, a little more character to it, where Dominican cigars tend to be the milder ones on the market, which are good for, you know, occasional smokers or new cigar smokers. Almost in the beginning, we were approached by Davidoff to be a white label dealer. We're exclusive to Western New York, and actually we're exclusive pretty much to the Niagara region. The closest store is Syracuse, or you actually got to leave the state and hit up Pittsburgh. So we're an exclusive Davidoff retailer, which is a high-end cigar, and quite an honor to carry. We do get usually a large selection of limited cigars. And they, again, tend to come around the holidays, Father's Day, Christmas. So we have one of the largest selection of rare cigars, whether it's in the Fuente, Opus X, Oliva, even rare Cohibas and Monte Cristos. I would say not only next to one of the largest cigar selections in Western New York, our accessories. We feature at least 3 different manufacturers of lighters, which are lifetime warranty lighters, large selection of humidors, leather carrying cases, travel humidors, and again, other accessories, whether it's the Bovita humidifiers, digital hydrometers, and quite a knowledgeable staff to help you. Our lounge is a public lounge. The only rule per se is that you do have to purchase the cigar from us to use our lounge. We have some of the more comfortable lounge chairs in Western New York. Our chairs are from Dream Seat, which you'll find in a lot of, you know, professional sports locker rooms. Quite comfortable chairs. We got bar seating too. We just installed a new HVAC system that is absolutely wonderful. Probably the best in Western New York. So it really does help minimize the smoking in the store. Just like everybody else is doing, we do have what's called a Connoisseurs Club. It's a loyalty program. You get a point for every purchase, and eventually when you get to a certain dollar amount, you start getting $5 coupons, if you will, which will be off your total purchase. We have quite a large selection of pipe tobacco, whether it's aromatic and some English blends. Our pipe selection, we try to keep up on our pipe selection. At times it is quite large, especially around the holidays. We try to thicken up with pipes. And again, those accessories, whether it's pipe lighters, cleaners, carrying cases for pipes. We try to feature several in-store events. They usually happen a lot more during the summer because of the sales reps or the cigar celebrities traveling more so during the summer. But we try to feature large events at least once a month. Those events will include buying events. Swag has gotten quite popular with the manufacturers, so usually not only are there gratis cigars involved with a purchase, there's usually very nice items, whether it's lighters, humidors, or large raffle prizes.
Boiling malted barley for an extended period of time converts the sugars into a form that's easily digestible for yeast. What is the amber liquid that's extracted called? Is it A, mash, B, flock, C, wort, D, ton? The answer is C, wort.
Thanks for watching the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. We'll see you next time. Cheers in Sláinte.